What I'd like to do tonight is give a brief overview of our advanced placement program in Glendale Union. Start with a little bit about who we are in the Glendale Union High School District, very brief. Talk to you about the benefits of the AP program. Have you take a look at a typical course of study for an honors or an AP student in our district, and look very briefly at the college admissions process and what AP means to that, and then finish up with a short video that should give you a good look at our AP students in action on the campus, and then, as I said, stand for any questions. How's this going to work for me? Am I going to have to stand? Okay, so our 9 high schools, as you see on the board, and many of you living in the community are familiar with those 9 high schools. Again, just a little bit about who we are as a Glendale Union High School District. 9 high schools in the Phoenix and Glendale area. Our students experience in the district what you see on this slide. There's academic excellence. You'll definitely find that in the Glendale Union High School District. Award-winning fine and performing arts programs, championship athletic teams, and an abundance of extracurricular activities to participate in for our student athletes, our students who aren't athletes, extracurricular activities as well. You see we have career and technical education opportunities that help support and supplement those advanced placement courses. And we also have online learning opportunities in Glendale Union. 3 other points of interest about the district as we get into AP is, as a district, when we look at that academic excellence component, we are an A-rated district by the Arizona Department of Education. Our high schools are listed among the high schools in the U.S. News and World Report Best High Schools. And when we get to the advanced placement piece, our topic tonight, we see that we received an honor that was unexpected, but it was a great honor for our district last year to be named the AP National District of the Year by the College Board. So if we look at the basics of AP, taking that academic excellence component and advanced placement, some basics are you'll hear AP and you see that's advanced placement coursework. Okay? The AP program is part of the College Board, and I did put up their SAT and PSAT, same organization that is responsible for the college entrance exam, SAT and PSAT. So when you look at a research-based approach, think about the resources that the College Board has to create the SAT, study that test, and consistently improve that and refine it. Those same resources are behind the AP program and its development and its continued success as well. AP programs, as you'll see later in the presentation, are recognized at universities throughout not only the United States, but throughout the world. Some more on the advanced placement program. Many of the facts and statements in here are directly from the College Board website. I'm not going to cite every slide on here, but at the end I'm going to give you that resource for the College Board website so that you have that and you can go there and do additional research if you choose. So the College Board refers to AP as a global academic program, as you see, offered in secondary schools in over 100 countries. In short, it's an academic experience at the college level in our high schools. You see it's rigorous coursework. It challenges our students, and in doing so really prepares them for a college experience. And with that, with these AP courses, there are many opportunities to earn college credit while you're in high school. Some benefits, in addition to the ones that I just talked about, there are also benefits. The earning the college credit in high school, extremely important. That you'll see later that our students at the sophomore, junior, and senior levels take examinations at the end of the AP courses. And scoring the required grade on those courses will allow them to earn that college credit, and as you'll see, saving them both time and money in the college experience. Distinguishes students in the in the admissions process to college as well. Again, the recognition of the AP program allows students to stand out. If they have AP courses on their transcript and they've done well in those courses, they do distinguish themselves in that college admissions process. The final piece on this slide, entering into upper level college courses, if they receive enough credit, some students can basically their first year of college start as a sophomore in college, saving again that time and that money if they earn enough credit on the AP exams. Additional benefits, as mentioned, fulfilling the prerequisites for college courses, time for college, money on tuition not spent if you get that college credit. Because, again, of the reputation of the AP coursework, students can earn academic scholarships and awards for doing well on AP exams, experiencing college-level rigor in exams. And that's extremely important, and we'll point to a study in a moment about that last bullet, a predictor for college success. In a U.S. Department of Education study, as you see, strongest predictor of college graduation, okay, is something they do before they ever go to college, and that's participating in rigorous coursework in high school. And in particular, in this study, AP courses were mentioned. Other reasons to take AP classes, I've mentioned some of them. Going into upper level courses sooner if students are ready for that, if they've shown mastery on that material by passing those AP exams. Some students use that extra time in college to pursue a double major. Some, as you see up there, to travel abroad, taking a semester or a year to travel abroad because they have that time to do that. And then we have a University of Iowa student talking about his experiences in AP and the semesters of time that it saved him for doing so well in those AP examinations. AP in Glendale Union High School District. As I mentioned, we have courses at the sophomore, junior, and senior years of high school. Students will take exams at the end of each AP course. And this is an important point, at no charge to the Glendale Union High School students or their parents. Okay? The cost of those exams, I believe they're up to probably, I think, $89 is the figure, $87 or $89. I apologize for not knowing the exact amount. But the point on this is that the district, the governing board committed a long time ago that all students would have these opportunities, and they're at no charge to the parents when they take these exams. And as we mentioned, college credit is awarded for a score at many universities, and this is a general statement made on the College Board website. It does vary from university to university, so I want to clarify that. But in general, for a score of 3 or higher, college credit can be awarded. Okay? And it's a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the absolute best score that you can get on an AP exam, and a 1 being the lowest. Okay? A typical honors or AP track in Glendale Union. If we take a look at the left-hand side of that slide, freshman year, students could come in and take an honors English class, an honors math class, honors science, physical education, take a foreign language course, and an elective of their choice. And this is a typical track for someone wanting to earn not the general diploma option, but the honors diploma that we have in our district. Sophomore year, as you see, that's the first year that you would see an AP course typically. That could vary slightly, but the AP World History is typically the first AP course that would be offered. You would sometimes see an AP Biology there as well. When we get to the junior year, AP Language, you see the science in there, the bio, the U.S. history being AP as well. In senior year, there's an opportunity, and one thing that is important, if your sons or daughters don't excel in all these areas, they don't have to take all AP classes. These are opportunities that they could take all of them. Their schedule could be, as you see it up there, and the elective of their choice could possibly be another AP class in Fine and Performing Arts. We have AP Art as well. That is a possibility, but it is important to note that if a student is not strong in all areas, they can experience that college experience and that rigor in particular areas, and it's not all or none in terms of the AP program. AP and college admissions, as you see when you're looking at the college admissions process, how these AP classes and courses will be recognized. On the College Board website, they do state that over 90% of colleges and universities across the U.S. offer college credit. And again, that will vary depending on college and university, the threshold or the score that a student has to have on an exam. In addition to the U.S., in more than 60 countries, okay, AP credit is either granted or recognized in the admissions process. And how this works, if you're wondering about that, the particulars of the college getting that score, either at the time of the test or later, the student can choose to which universities or colleges they want that score to be sent, just as you can on an SAT or any other type of major exam. Okay? In a final piece, when they get through that coursework and they're looking for college admissions, if at Harvard University AP coursework is recognized, and not only recognized, but stated as a standard predictor of academic success at that university, I think that's a good indication that AP is recognized throughout the country, and something that helps our students in the admissions process. And this is the College Board website. And what I'd like to do is play that short video for you right now.
And he splits through the defense somehow. He's at the 30.
Well, thank you for having me. I am the principal at North Kenyon High School in the Paradise Valley Unified School District, which has had the IB program since 1991 when it started. And I want to say, first of all, we also have AP classes, we also have dual enrollment, but the honest truth is that there are lots of ways for kids to be successful, and that's what I was a counselor at one point in the high school, and I was an IB teacher, but I think it's finding the right fit for the child. But Susie, I thought part of the plan for today was to differentiate between these two programs. So I'm going to do a little bit about what, because a lot of the things that Brian said are exactly true of IB as well, but I will try to differentiate the best I can for you between those programs. Just a real small history about IB. IB started in the 60s in European, American schools around the world so that they could compete when you had kids overseas with some of the Asian and European schools, because you know a lot of those schools, how you do in your high school year determines what your future is going to be like. So if you graduate from an IB diploma school, you can take that diploma anywhere around the world, because the standards for assessment, whether you take it in Swahili, Greek, American, French, doesn't matter, the standards are the same. And so you could go to the Sorbonne with a diploma from an IB school. They will recognize that automatically. In 1994, the IB organization actually started a middle years program. And it really varies in the configuration from school district to school district. In our district, it's a 7, 8, 9, 10 program, though my school is only 9, 10, 11, 12. So we share the middle years program with the local middle school. And then we also have a primary years program that's actually started in 1997. So this program in Paradise Valley and other districts too is a K-12 continuum. So you can be in that program for all of those years. What differences in the program, when I was teaching, a lot of times if I had students, I taught IB English, when I had students, they were struggling for whatever reason, they said, you know what, I'm going to drop down to AP. Buzz, wrong. Okay, because the rigor of an AP course and the rigor of an IB course are the same. They're highly challenging classes, so you can't just drop down. It's not a level, it's parallel. One of the biggest differences is that in IB, it's a total program. Kids who are in AP classes oftentimes self-select into those classes that they're the most competent in. So your math, science, whiz buckets choose the maths and sciences. Your social studies, English buffs choose that route. But if you're in IB, math is not your strongest suit, you're still going through calculus. If you don't love world language, but you have to take at least 2 years for a university, in IB, you have to do it for 4 years. Everything is done to the max, so you're required to do that. And what it's trying to do is stretch the numerate people to become literate and the literate people to become numerate. So it stretches you in every single direction. So it's a total program. You will take all advanced IB classes throughout your program. You will have some elective choices in there, but it's a structured program. So there's competencies that you have to meet within that program. And in addition to doing the coursework, IB requires you to do community service. So it becomes a part of who you are. And as we know, a lot of times in scholarship applications, they really want kids to be leaders and to have that community service. In the high school level, they call it creativity, action, and service. So you're supposed to do a sport. You're supposed to do an activity on your campus. You're supposed to help in your community. You're supposed to be civic-minded. All of those things are components that are built into the program. In your sophomore year, as part of the middle years program, because that's where that ends, again, ours is 7, 8, 9, 10, you will finish with a personal project, which is the end part of the middle years program. And that's a program of a project of your own choosing. You investigate something very thoroughly that you are very interested in. And believe me, there's an array of topics that kids are interested in. And because it could be something that really isn't offered as a content area class, but you've picked the project. There have been kids who have investigated cooking in a particular ethnic area. We had a kid last year who built a car, which he actually dragged into the cafeteria. It could be something in the medical field, just something you're interested in. You have some guidance and you have to do a presentation. In your, when you finish the diploma program in your senior year, you have to write a 4,000-word extended essay. Again, it's a content area, there's certain areas, but you get to choose what you want, and you're doing that under the auspices of somebody from the community or someone from the school. And so you're supposed to spend about 40 hours on that. In the past, I've had students who have written incredible essays, which they've actually used to get extra credit in college, because it really demonstrates the kind of depth that they can go through. When Brian talked about the AP testing, both of these programs have assessment, but they're different. In AP, you tend to take a single exam at the end of that class, could be 2, 3 hours, whatever it is, and you will score a 1 to 5 on that exam. And that exam score will translate into college credit just based on what universities you're going to, because the same thing with IB, different universities will give you different credit for different programs and how they look at it. But IB, it tests differently. There's a multitude, and this is something I really like about it, there are a multitude of kinds of assessments that go into your final score, which is a 1 to 7, okay? And what happens, I'll tell you about IB English, because I taught that, so I'm the most familiar with it, but every subject has multiple facets. In IB English, I had the juniors, and in my school, the kids had to do a 15-minute tape into a tape, where they analyzed a piece of literature, a passage of literature of something that we had studied during the course of the year, but they had to pick these passages at random. Not an easy thing to do. I remember teaching this, we used to start out with 1 or 2 minutes because 15 sounded daunting. And it is kind of daunting. And as the person who's proxying the exam there, all you could do is ask kind of clarifying questions or give them little prompts, but you cannot tell them what to do. And then IB requires that the teacher send in a tape of a high, medium, and low score, and IB monitors the teacher to see whether the teacher is actually giving the kinds of assessment grades that they should. And if they feel you've been too harsh, they'll up the kid's score. If they feel you've been too easy, they down the kid's score. And they send you out, here's what you did well, and here's what you need to look at in the future. So that was 30% of a student's final score for IB. 20% was papers they wrote. One of the papers was graded internally by one of the teachers, and they had to send in sample papers. And then one paper is actually sent out somewhere around the world. I've often volunteered to go on those field trips, but they haven't chosen me, and I don't get it, because sometimes you're shipping papers out to South Africa. And there are assessment graders who grade those papers at somewhere around the world, and then they put together all of those different scores and all of those different components, and 50% is an assessment the kids take at the end. AP tends to be very discreet in the kind of information they ask of you, although you have to do essays as well. IB tends to give you a very broad question, and you have to bring to bear a lot of the things that you've learned to that assessment. And again, they're graded somewhere where you ship off those papers. So they're standardizing those procedures, again, whether you take that around the world or, whether you take it in any language, the standards are the same for an IB diploma. The IB diploma, the kids need to score, they take 6 content areas and they write this 4,000-word extended essay. They have to score at least 24 points out of a possible 28 to get their IB diploma. And at least at North Canyon with the diploma program, about 90-some% of the kids get their diploma because by that time they're pretty prepared for what they're having to do.
What percent did you say?
Pardon me?
What percent?
90% of the kids usually score, get the diploma. They could come back if they wanted, same thing with an AP. They could always come back and take a test if they chose, but by that time, most of the kids are off to college and on their own. It's intense. It gets to the junior year, and these kids, again, are taking 6 advanced academic classes. That's tough. That's not an easy thing to do. So what I've found is I've never talked to a student who went through that program that in retrospect wasn't happy that they did it because they are so prepared for college, they find college easy. Many elite universities will ask, did you take the most rigorous courses offered at your school? Whether that's AP or an IB, sometimes on the actual diploma, they'll ask if you have an IB curriculum in your school, because it has burgeoned since the 1990s. When we began at North Canyon, we were the only game in town at that time, but now there's different districts that offer the IB diploma. Our kids typically walk in with 15 to 20 credits. We've had kids walk in with 50. But that was the student that was, I remember from my past who got the most credits was also working at ASU doing some things with their astronomy lab. So there's opportunities for kids to do internships and gain extra credit that way. So it's an international kind of program. The other thing that differentiates a little bit, and this is always the easiest way for me to explain this. When I was a junior in high school, you took U.S. history. We took U.S. history. The kids at North Canyon basically take U.S. history. But when you're in IB, you take history of the Americas. So you are taking a class that deals with North America, Central America, South America. There's a very global configuration in this flat world that we live in. When you have your literature list, it's a world literature list as well as a unit where you might do American literature, which is a typical junior level class that you take in 11th grade. But again, you're tying some of the American themes to themes around the world. I used to do the American dream, but also as it relates to South America. So everything you do an extensive level. What's really nice about this kind of program is it becomes, in a large high school, comprehensive high school, a school within a school. Those kids get to know each other extremely well, and I'm sure that's true of the AP kids as well. They get to know each other because they're all kind of suffering that pain together. I always tell the parents that at some point your child will say to you, "Remind me why I did this." And because it can be overwhelming at times, it seems, when you're sitting there with 4 exams that really all your high school culminates. You can take 2 exams your junior year, and you take 4 your senior year. But the kids are really prepared. We have a girl who did French comprehensively. In our school, you can take French, Spanish, or Mandarin as our IB world languages, because again, you have to do 4 years. And she was actually accepted into a medical school in France with her, into a program, because her French is really outstanding. So the IB program is just comprehensive. It has all those components in it. Paradise Valley, North Canyon itself is a pretty diverse school where we have an AVID program, we have AP, we have dual enrollment, we have IB. So it's a select group of kids. And it's not a gifted program. It embraces gifted kids, but it's really for highly motivated kids who really love academics. And sometimes the kids, when I was a counselor at North Kenyon, and the student would come in 8th grade and they really wanted this IB thing, and parents would always ask me, well, how many kids drop out of IB? And I would always answer, it's not that they drop out, they don't drop in. To the 11th grade, 12th grade program, it's a little bit different, but sometimes girls discover boys, boys discover girls, everybody discovers work. And sometimes they have other passions, and they never went to yearbook, they never did this, and now they want to do that. And our IB kids are leaders on our campus. They're in every single activity. Sometimes people will say, well, there's a lot of homework. I don't think it's any more homework than sitting there with AP classes. Again, they're just kids. And when they do that extended essay, my experience was that you're required to do 40 hours of work, and they would whine for 40 and think they had done 80. Not true. It's 40 hours, and it's done with under the guidance of us. I had a student who asked me last year, because I'm kind of a Shakespeare buff, and he knew that, and so he was doing an essay on Shakespeare and film. So you can't even, when that student is autonomously writing that paper, I as an advisor could say something like, well, your premise isn't very logical. You need to check the grammar. You need to do this. But I wasn't supposed to tell that student what to do. I couldn't mark up papers. It is independent work, and the same thing is true of the personal project. So the kids really have to learn to be autonomous in that kind of activity. We do some special things. Our IB students have a single counselor on our school campus, so he really is aware of IB kids, what the requirements are for them. He writes a lot of their college recommendations, as well as we have an IB coordinator on our campus who does special programs for the kids. And one thing we're going to be starting at the end of this year and next year is each year we want to have a leadership program for our kids, so that they would rotate through each year. We take them off campus and they look at a different aspect of leadership, so that when they're done that program, they've gotten something else out of it. When I taught at Paradise Valley High School, we had some really bright kids. That was like in the 1980s. But some of the recruiters didn't come to our school, and I could never understand why some of those kids didn't get accepted to elite universities. When you have an IB program, they know what the standard is, so they start courting you, and they come to your schools because they know what AP is, and they know what IB is. So they're sure that the kids who go through these programs are capable of handling work at that rigorous level. So it's more of a total package, but kids can also do the arts or do sciences, They can do lots of different areas within IB and still be competent with that. So we have IB music, we have IB music theory, we have IB art, and everything is done intensely. So if you're taking IB art, you're not just drawing stick figures, which challenge me. What you're doing is you're doing a portfolio where you investigate an area of art, and then you have to write about it, and you have to draw, and you have to talk about it. So everything is done in an academic way. And that usually I do these presentations about an hour, so I'm trying to do this in 15 minutes. Does that kind of make sense? That it's a little bit different from AP, although again, I stress to you, if a student is taking AP English or IB English, the rigor is the same. They're both being challenged at a very, very high level.